so it's not going to bother us. So today is our teaching week 3, right? So today lecture 3, our topic that we are going to talk about is international trade, okay? International trade issues. So while during our lecture we will discuss, first of all, why international trade is so important, okay? And what are the benefits from international trade? Now I will show you with the data of the graphical representation how, parties they gain simultaneously, all right? Then we will talk about some trade policies and issues regarding international trade, all right? Good. So, for example, international trade is so widespread, right? If we consider even though just this classroom, you may find, the origins of the goods and services that are provided here from various countries, right? Most probably today in the morning you had breakfast with some kind of foreign-made some goods, right? All the clothes that you are wearing, I'm absolutely sure that not all of them made in Uzbekistan, right? Including Turkish, Italian, and some other brands, okay? So which means even the internet that is supplied to us, okay, the origin is somewhere else. All right? So, which means that we are so dependent on international trade, and we really like that international trade, so we try to promote it, okay? So why is it so good? I would like to explain it with an exercise first, okay? Example. Let's suppose for simplicity, in this world there are only two people living, all right? Rancher and farmer. So, farming is good in growing vegetables and fruits, right? The rancher is good in growing what? Cattle. So, which means he is able to produce high quality meat, while he is able to produce what? Potatoes, let's suppose, okay? So now we will consider that example. All right. So please follow me. So let's suppose farmer and rancher. All right, farmer and rancher. So for example, farmer, if he wants to produce 1 kilogram of meat, he spends on average 60 minutes. Meat, yes. While rancher, because he's more expert in producing meat, he spends only 20 minutes to produce 1 kilogram of meat. Let's suppose if the working day for both is only 8 hours, how many kilograms of meat is farmer able to produce? 8 kilograms, right? While rancher is able to produce 24 kilograms of meat. And on the other hand, farmer now, he is able to produce 1 kilogram of meat, potatoes, in 15 minutes. So which means in 8 hours he is able to produce 32 kilograms, right? And rancher, he is able to produce 1 kilogram of meat in 10 minutes. And if he spends the entire time for production of potatoes, he is able to produce 48 kilograms of potatoes. All right? Now we have this data. All right? Now we have this data. So, and represented here. All right? So look. Regarding international trade, we have classical economists, all right, like Adam Smith. What did he say about international trade? So he said, Adam Smith, if countries really want to benefit from international trade, okay, if they really want to benefit, so then they have to specialize on their absolute advantages. Do you understand? Absolute advantages, which means what is absolute advantage? The amount of goods and services, okay, is produced by spending less time with given resources. Let's suppose if I am able to produce 5 kilograms of potatoes in 1 hour, what is my input? Time, right? And there is that gentleman who is able to produce 10 kilograms of potatoes in 1 hour. Who has absolute advantage? Here, right? For example, Uzbekistan, we are very good in producing cotton, right? So let's say from 1 hectare of land, we are able to produce, let's say, 5 tons of cotton. While in Kazakhstan, if they do their best, they are only able to produce 1 ton of cotton. Who has absolute advantage? Uzbekistan. Or regarding wheat production, they have absolute advantage. All right, wheat production. They have higher quality and more in terms of quantity. Okay, good. So if you consider Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, and if you listen to Adam Smith, all right, he said countries must trade based on their absolute advantages. If Uzbekistan has absolute advantage in producing cotton, then Uzbekistan should produce cotton. If Kazakhstan has absolute advantage in producing wheat, then Kazakhstan should produce wheat. And they have to trade. Okay? So it was the case. Now if you look at this data, right? Now we have a farmer and rancher. Farmer and rancher. And now you can see that if farmer spends, you know, in one hour, farmer is able to produce, in one day, let's say 8 hours, only 8 kilograms, right? While rancher is able to produce 24 kilograms. Who has absolute advantage in terms of production of meat? Rancher, right? Because he produces 3 times more. Okay, what about in terms of potatoes? Now he's able to produce 32 kilograms, while rancher is able to produce only 48 kilograms, right? So which means, again, he has absolute advantage in producing potato. So now, if we listen to the statements of Adam Smith, all right, and we think that what he said is perfectly right, okay, we must follow his advice. So in that case, then farmer and rancher, they don't have to trade. Why? Because rancher has an absolute advantage in producing both goods. All right. So which means, for example, today, United States of America, they have absolute advantage in producing many things, right? And there are many other developing countries, they are not able to compete with them because they have very good technology. They are able to produce more by spending less time and resources. All right? Which means that if you follow Adam Smith, then the United States, they don't have to trade with other nations. But today we know that they trade and they really want to trade, right? Even though they have some advantage. Okay? So later on, after Adam Smith, I think you heard about another great economist from UK, okay? David Ricardo. Alright? He said, after reading Adam Smith's all the books, and he did a bit of research, and he just thought, what if those, in this case they don't have to, but there must be some way, that both parties should gain. Okay? Then he introduced another theory of comparative advantage. Okay? Comparative advantage. So what is comparative advantage? Regarding absolute advantage, it's clear. One producer, he produces more, spending less resources, okay? But in terms of comparative advantage, okay? Comparative advantage, he said, both, any countries, they will gain if they practice, specialize on their comparative advantage, which means sacrificing less for the production of certain goods. For example, now we will calculate for farmer, okay? Farmer comparative advantage. Farmer's comparative advantage, for example. If farmer wants to produce only meat, how much meat is able to produce? 8 kilograms, okay? And how many kilograms of potatoes should he sacrifice? 32 kilograms, right? If he spends entire time for that one, then he should, sacrifice 32 kilograms, right? Or let's go further that production possibility frontier. If farmer spends all of his time for production of meat, he is able to produce 8 kilograms of meat, yes? If he spends all of his time for production of potatoes, he is able to produce 32 kilograms of potato. Which means, if we draw this line, it gives us what? PPF of farmer. Production possibilities frontier. and we consider the case of Rancher, he is able to produce 24 kilograms of meat in 8 hours and 48 kilograms of potatoes in 8 kilograms. So which means this ppm is for Rancher. Okay, good. So now again, comparative advantage. So now farmer, if he wants to produce certain good, he must give out this. Which means if you get it, it's equal to 4. Which means if farmer wants to produce 1 kilogram of meat, he should give out 4 kilograms of potatoes, as it's clear. What about the rancher? If rancher wants to produce meat, he is able to produce 24 kilograms in 1 day, right? And he produces 24 kilograms, he gives out entire 48 kilograms of potatoes. So which is equal to 2. So which means if rancher produces 1 kilogram of meat, he is now giving out 2 kilograms of potatoes only. So here now, who has, whose opportunity cost is less? Rancher. Okay? Now if rancher produces meat, he is now giving out less. So now, David Ricardo says, if one producer's opportunity cost is less than the other, then that producer should spend more time on the production of that good. Because now rancher has comparative advantage, okay? So it means that rancher should spend more time on the production of meat, okay? Let's now consider in the case of potato production, okay? Let farmer, in the case of potato production, if he wants to produce only potatoes, he's able to produce 32 kilograms, yes? And he should give up 8 kilograms of meat, which is equal to 1/4. And let's calculate it for the rancher, okay, the potato. This is meat. So now, if he wants to produce potato 48 kilograms, and he must give up 24 kilograms of meat, which is 1/2. So now, which producer's opportunity cost is less now? Farmer. Alright? Now farmer has comparative advantage in terms of production of potatoes. This theory, this idea was given by David Ricardo. Alright? He introduced. Now, even though the case is like this, they will still gain if those producers, they specialize on their comparative advantage. Now I think it's clear. Right? In terms of absolute advantage, rancher has absolute advantage in both. But if you consider comparative advantage, rancher has only comparative advantage in terms of production of meat. Doesn't matter, okay? Doesn't matter. Whatever you do, all right? If you have any country has absolute advantage, in terms of production, all goods, that country can never have comparative advantage in terms of production areas. Even in terms of 2 goods. At least one party will have comparative advantage. Okay? Good. Let's suppose now, based on Adam Smith's theory, these two, rancher and farmer, okay, they are trading, now they are not trading first, okay? And they want to consume both goods, which means they allocate their time equally. Alright, which means spending 4 hours for the production of meat. So he's able to produce 4 kilograms. And spending 4 hours for the production of potatoes, which means 16. And on the other hand, the rancher, okay, if he spends 4 hours, he's able to produce 12 kilograms of meat and 24 kilograms of potatoes. If they follow Adam Smith's theory, they will live forever, and their consumption will not go beyond this line, right? Whatever we do, it will be within this line, right? Okay. And now let's follow that comparative advantage now. Okay. Good. For example, rancher, after trading many years with, not trading with farmer, one day he picked up the book of David Ricardo. Okay? And he read about comparative advantage. And just to think, I have absolute advantage. How is it possible? Okay? And he did over the night some calculations, taking his laptop. Alright? And he really figured out that, right, you know, we may gain. Alright? The next day, early in the morning, not having breakfast, he went to meet farmer. Okay? And he said, okay, Mr. Farmer, I have a deal with you. So what kind of deal? You know, if you agree to grow only potatoes and not produce any meat, okay, I'm very ready to exchange 5 kilograms of my meat with your 15 kilograms of your potatoes. Do you understand? So which means he came to him, okay, he said, all right, if you agree, only produce potatoes. He is able to produce 32 kilograms, right? He said, just produce this one, don't produce meat. In exchange, I will give you 5 kilograms of meat. And the only thing that I need from you is 15 kilograms of potato, which means how much for him left? 15, right? So 15 is given to rancher. Do you understand? So now you just farmer after his proposal, he said, 5 kilograms and 17, okay? If it's like Jude, we'll just look it. So which means that he's gaining 1 kilogram additional of meat and 1 kilogram additional of potato. Farmer who is illiterate about comparative advantage, now he said, oh yeah, it looks very good for me. But what about you? What is suspicious? Then he explained, all right, if you agree, then I will also benefit. How? Then he said, I will spend 6 hours of my time just to produce meat and 2 hours for the production of potatoes. So now, if he spends 6 hours for the production of meat, he is able to produce 18 kilograms of meat, right? Okay? And he is now willing to exchange 5 kilograms with 15 kilograms, which means he is now giving 5 kilograms of his meat. How much left? 13, right? And he is exchanging it with 15 kilograms, which gives, at this point, he was producing only 12 kilograms of in 2 hours, right? Now he's getting 15. 15 plus 12 is going to be 27. Oh, sorry, 27. Is it possible? Okay. So now he shows, if you look, in both cases, that both rancher and the farmer, they can consume more. Because this rancher is very smart, he's gaining even more. 100 kilograms of meat and 3 additional kilograms of potato. Okay? Do you understand? So now, David Ricardo, he gave us this kind of explanation, which means you can see, okay, from here that if we trade, we will really gain. Alright? Therefore, trading is so good thing, which gives for all countries to specialize on their comparative advantages. Okay, good. So these are all given, so you can read it from the slide. Okay, what is, I already explained you. Okay, David Ricardo, what is opportunity cost, and the farmers, so in terms of both, so which I showed you already. Okay, good. So the question here, all right. So what do you think? Is trading good? All right, unless it causes some international trade disputes. Okay? International trade disputes. Or externalities that we will talk. Alright. First of all, according to Adam Smith and according to David Ricardo, so they are very strong supporters of free trade. What is free trade? Trading without any barriers. No tariffs, no quotas, no restrictions on any goods and services, okay? Good. So, and now, if you ask anyone, all right, so they consider, okay, international trade is the engine of growth. All right? So, for example, today all developed countries, they become so powerful in terms of economical because of what? Trade. G7. Why are they grade 7? Because their trade volume is the greatest. Of course, you know, China is greatest too, but there are some other conditions too, right, to be that in G7. Good. So now we will talk about, you know, trade policies. The first one is inward-looking trade policy. Inward-looking. So there are countries, all right, even though they know in Uzbekistan, in China, all countries, they know that comparative advantage is a really good thing, all right? You know, but you know, comparative advantage is something that can be developed too. So today, for example, Uzbekistan doesn't have comparative advantage in terms of production, many things, okay? But if we have been given a chance, we might be able to develop that comparative advantage, which is, you know, can be developed, okay? So therefore, some countries, they try to follow inward-looking trade policy, which means they try to support their industries. China, for example, strongly inward-looking trade policy. Russia, Japan used to be, but not now, today, okay? And India too. So first of all, why are they, you know, they want infant industry, you know, right? Our infant new industries that we want to open. So now, for example, Artel is its infant industry, right? Why, you know, we are imposing high tariffs for any other electronic goods or durable goods, just to support our Artel. One reason, okay? One reason we want to support Artel. Why? Because now Artel, that's, you know, that newly introduced industry, that company is not able to compete with any other foreign rivals, which means that Artel doesn't have absolute advantage plus doesn't have comparative advantage. Okay? Good. So, but if governments give some time, protects, and, you know, puts, you know, high tariffs, which means whether we want or not, because foreign goods are very expensive, we buy our locally produced Artel, even though the quality is a bit low, even though it's very low. All right? Why? Because over time, if Artel gets profit, makes profit, okay, then over the time it starts learning. All right, improving the quality. So maybe, you know, Artel can be, after 10 years, one of the best, you know, smartphone sellers. Who knows? All right. So therefore, over the years, they try to gain comparative advantage. Plus, inward-looking trade policy. Another reason is, you know, they want to, you know, replace foreign imports with domestic production. We know that if we import more, does our economy gain? No, right? It's better if we export. And you know, it's better if we export, but at least we should try to reduce import level by replacing those import goods with our domestic goods. And another one is foreign dependency. For example, Russian Federation a few years ago, when they annexed Crimea, yes, there was an annexation of Crimea, and, you know, all Western countries, they imposed what? Sanctions, yes. What was the you know, reason behind imposing sanctions? One is, how did they do it? They did not buy any Russian goods. They stopped buying, and they stopped supplying those goods to Russia. For example, many Russian industries, they were heavily dependent on Western technology. Immediately, because they were very dependent, okay, what happened in Russia? They experienced recession. Very strong recession. Okay? Because they were dependent. So therefore, after that one, Putin's government, what did they do? Maybe from few years in, they were always talking about developing the domestic, you know, industry and replacing foreign goods. And they were supporting, which, you know, they did not foresee earlier. if they had stronger inward-looking trade policy and they were trying to produce locally, even though they could not experience that recession. Okay? So there are advantages and disadvantages of that inward-looking trade policy. What are the advantages? It's good for our infant industries like Artel. Okay? Like our GM. Alright? GM is still GM because of government. Okay? Now I will explain some other reasons there too. Okay? We will talk mainly lots of time. We will shield the economy from external shocks, as I already said. Okay? If we are not dependent, whatever happens outside, it's okay for us. And it reduces balance of payment deficit because now we are domestically producing everything, right? We can substitute, which means we are not buying more from outside. Our balance of deficit in balance of payment will be low. If we start export, it can be even surplus. Okay, which is good. And builds a base for future. For example, Japan, many years ago, they were strictly following that inward-looking trade policy. Alright, they had very high tariff for electronics, and car industry at that time. So Japanese people, even though they were paying more for buying Japanese cars, but still they gave a chance for those Japanese car makers and those computer makers or any electronic production companies opportunity to gain comparative advantage. So now today you can see how powerful nation is Japan in terms of economic, right? Because over the years they were able to develop comparative advantage. So now they have comparative advantage in terms of producing electronics, cars, and that gives them very great opportunity in global market. Their market share is expanding every day, okay? Because of that. They're getting stronger, and stronger. Alright? Good? And what about the disadvantages? Inefficient resource allocation. For example, if Uzbek government, if we just remove quotas and tariffs for cars, alright? Whether GM want, whether they want or not, they will reduce the price. So now, if they reduce the price, is it good for us? It's good for us, right? So now we have, for example, to buy Malibu, we are paying about $30,000, right? But actually, if there wasn't any tariff, we could buy it easily for $20,000 or even less. So now we are paying additional $10,000, which comes from the heart, just. Yes, we are paying that one, whether we want it or we don't, because of the tariff problem. We can buy even better foreign car for that price if there wasn't tariff, right? So that sacrifice that we are doing. Opportunity cost of subsidies. For example, those many infant industries in Uzbekistan, Artel, GM, and all others, they are surviving one reason, not only tariff, and they're getting support from government, from the government. Which that, billions of dollars which is spent for those industries can be spent for what? Building infrastructure, building schools, kindergartens in some areas, and they're not enough. It could be spent for that purpose. Or low level of FDI. For that inward-looking trade, it means that there are barriers. That foreign investors, they don't like barriers. It distracts them. Because it means that they don't fully support international trade. Or failing in developing competitive advantage. Another thing, for example, it's a good example regarding GM again. GM was infant industry in 1993 when it was introduced, And GM is still infant industry. They are not able to compete still.
Because they don't have computers.
Yeah, it's because of monopoly power that it was given for them, Why GM was given that opportunity at the beginning? Because they were thinking that over the years they will be more competitive and gain comparative advantage. Then we will remove those tariffs. Then GM will be selling our cars. Unfortunately, it did not happen. Okay, for which government spent so much money. I believe that all of you have cars, right? Your parents spend a lot of money too to keep that alive, but they are still failing. Okay, good. And what about outward-looking trade policy? It's completely vice versa. Okay, countries they follow outward-looking trade policy. They try to fully support international trade. No tariffs, no quotas, no any protections. Okay, the case of Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, which we call them Asian tigers. You know how strong nations they become in a very short time because of trade. Because of trade. Okay? Good. Characteristics, so first of all, it's free trade, okay? Then, if it's that one, there is always a free exchange rate, okay? Floating exchange rate, or high competitiveness and increased FDI. If your outward policy is outward-looking policy, your gates are open, that foreign investors, they really like it. Okay? But there are advantages and disadvantages too. Regarding the advantages, okay, it creates employment, right? So once country like Korea, they start exporting more and more and more, to export more, they need more human capital, resources, okay, they create jobs. Or, I said, investment flow is great. Investment, they come and they try to establish their companies and they create more jobs, okay? Or increase in aggregate demand. If we don't export and we are selling only domestically, our aggregate demand is just restricted within domestically. If we export, our aggregate demand will increase because of foreign buyers. Not domestically demanded from foreigners also demanding our goods. Opportunity for cost competitiveness, okay? For countries like China, because they have cheap labor, all right, and they have cheap land and cheap resources, it gives them very strong opportunity, okay? If let's say they're open 100%, opportunity to compete with others because they're able to produce in cheaper price, all right? And learn from rivals. Let's suppose that if this tariff was removed for GM 15 years ago, okay, all foreign cars are coming, then we will start buying from others, right? So if they really want to be in the market and keep their market share in Uzbekistan, okay, what will they be doing? What will they be doing? They will be spending more time and effort and money for R&D, developing better designs, okay? Who knows, maybe GM could be today much stronger than today. Okay? And disadvantages, of course, that is first of all environmental degradation, all right? Because it's open, resources are, that can be used in a bad way, so it causes that one. And falling export prices, which means those countries those support international trade, they support because they are export-oriented. All right? For example, in 2008 and 2009, what happened in the United States? Financial crisis, right? So, they experienced recession, and as a result, the economy went down in the United States. Immediately, their consumption of import goods from abroad went down, right? For example, Korea, Singapore, China, Japan, many other countries who were exporting a lot, they were not able to sell to Americans because they are suffering from that issue. Immediately, those Koreans they were also feeling the same pain. All right? And no protection against economic shocks, as I already said. Okay? And rich countries, they lack protectionism. Another issue is even though rich countries, they really want to trade, okay? But usually, you know, that there are set some quotas, okay? Or they protect their quotas from international trade. All right, infant industry. What is infant industry? Which is newly established, okay? Which is not able to compete with others, all right? Let's take an example. Let's say in Uzbekistan, we want to establish our own brand, car maker, whose car? All right, what do we need for that one? Investment, right? And we have a person like him. Who is this person? Zafar Hashim, one of the richest persons, right? And we have another Uzbek, Alisher Usman. Okay? One reason, because it's, you know, we want to make it 100% Uzbek using even the resources. Okay? So now, one thing we can, okay, you know, Mr. Zafaraka, Mr. Alisher, we want to, you know, open our own brand, so it's going to be our Uzbek made. Why don't you invest? What will be the answer? Okay? That's going to be the answer. They are rich because they are very smart. And they know if they are going to do it, you know, those, you know, big, you know, tigers, right? Like BMW, Ford, Chrysler, whatever, they will, you know, in a few minutes just eat our whose car. So they'll know it's, you know, I'm not willing to do it. Right? It's too bad. I did. All right. But on the other hand, there is now government intervention. All right. Now government is intervening, and now we're saying, okay, Mr. Zavaraja and Alisharajah, if you establish, okay, just spend it. Okay, we are going to protect. We are going to, you know, input, you know, high tariffs for foreign cars, and we will, you know, impose, you know, quotas. And what will be the answer? It's a good idea. Okay? Now, government in advance giving them what? Monopoly power. Which means that 32 million, they already have 32 million customers. They did not start the business yet, but they already have customers. Okay? So in that case, they will do it. Okay? So, what about you know, the problems of infant industry? All right. If it's infant industry, we are strongly supporting high tariffs, high quotas. It means less variety of goods. We have less variety of kind of car brand because it's too expensive. Higher prices for same good. Okay. And difficulty in spotting good candidates for protection. Again, GM. You know, there are so many industries which need support from the government, okay? But the issue is which one is going to be more successful. If you pick up the right one, in the future they will develop, okay, and then it will bring benefit. But if you pick up the wrong one, then it will bring only loss, okay? Good. So the early support, and another thing is, the early support, let's say for example, BMW of Germany, right? They became so strong. Toyota or other, you know, cars of Japan, they became so strong globally, okay? And they got support from the government. You know, it could be highly possible that if even government did not support them, they could be still, in the future, competitive. It's possible, okay? So if it's the case that government still spend money for nothing. Negative impact on policy making process. Okay, this is, we have camera, we have to do this sense. Okay, look, for example, let's suppose we have one monopoly industry, all right? Monopoly industry. And they are, you know, and all, you know, foreign remove quotas and tariffs, all right? What will happen to that monopoly industry? Maybe they may go bankrupt, okay? And the owner of that monopoly company will think what? Oh, you know, if, you know, tomorrow, if it happens, the government is intending to do it, and they have that information, you know, we should do something, otherwise we will lose. All right, and what may happen, that, you know, those industry, you know, candidates may approach some of our government leaders Okay, you know Mr. Someone, okay? We heard that we had some rumors that you are trying to impose or remove tariffs for those goods and remove quotas. If it happens, you know, then we, according to our estimation, in 1 month we may go bankrupt. So therefore, you know, there is a small gift for you. Please just reconsider your decision. He opens that you know, small stuff. There is a key, which is, you know, with a logo of Ferrari. And he would say, and please open the back of the car. It is full of what? Those green dollars. All right? It will cause that kind of lobbying corruption issues. All right? Good? And what about outside of the country? It's not only bad within the country. It's also bad for other countries too. If one country imposes high tariff, okay? Those countries who, for example, car makers, okay, they really don't like it. Do you understand? If they impose those protections, okay, against the foreigners, they will be also not buying our goods too. Because now we are doing it, we are going also not willing to buy your goods. All right? And it causes what then? Trade disputes. We have WTO, right? World Trade Organization. If, let's say, Uzbekistan wants to impose high tariff for certain goods from Russia or the Russian government, they have, you know, full right to apply to WTO. Now, Uzbeks are violating our trade laws, imposing high tariffs. Okay? And it may even, you know, cause that some sanctions imposed on Uzbekistan.
But there is one hole in WTO charter.
Pardon?
There is one small hole in WTO agreements.
Yeah, there is always small loophole. Yeah, that's true.
Because U.S. government, they have decided to go through this hole when they were the agreement between China and U.S. about crimps export from China to U.S. They have decided that this case is violating.
You mean shrimp?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dolphin shrimp
shrimp,
case.
yeah.
Yeah, of course, you know, those powerful nations, they all, that case, you know, we may consider during the seminar, okay, good case. Americans, if they found some other way to put protection, okay, anyway. Worsening political and economic relation, you know, if that tensions goes and on, it may cause even, it will lead to what? War. Alright? Now you know that between US and China, they have trade war, right? Their political relationship gets worse and worse and worse, and we hope that there will not happen any kind of war between those two countries. Okay? It will not happen. Alright, good. Then strategic trade policies. Strategic trade policies. Now, there are two strategic trade policies. The first one is profit-shifting trade, strategic trade policy. What is it? For example, why most of the foreign countries, those strong countries, they don't like Chinese way of trading?
Because they copy?
No, not only copy. Okay? One is because of, you know, Trump blames them, you know, their currency manipulators, that we will understand later. It's not okay, because of currency. Another one is, you know, Chinese government provides a lot of subsidy for the industry. Okay? Look, in China, labor is very cheap. Resources are very cheap, right? Which makes their goods very cheap internationally. And plus, because China wants to gain, you know, even greater market share, okay? Government also helps. Now, this is help money for you, okay? I'm just giving an example. Maybe it doesn't happen, but sometimes it happens, I think. So when they give that money, okay, financial resources, by getting that money, they are able to even reduce the prices internationally. Do you understand? They're getting subsidy. Now they are producing goods and services for even cheaper. So now Chinese market share in the world is getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. So government supports it until it gets, you know, that enough market share they need. For example, now maybe, you know, 20% of you use smartphones or Galaxy phones, okay, Korean phones. 20% of you use iPhones, and the remaining 60% you use Chinese phones, okay? Doesn't matter. Once you start using, you will be, you are used to it. For example, I like LG phone because it has a double tick function, let's say. I'm used to it. If I have some other brand, I will always choose it because I'm only used. So Chinese strategy or some other country they follow, their strategy is this one. Once they start using the cheap ones, once they use our goods, it means that even though the price is going up, they will be still using it. Do you understand? So that way they try to expand their market. Okay. And what about if let's say Chinese government is doing that, let's suppose, and now US, they got very angry because of that, and now they want to retaliate. Do you understand? If Chinese are able, we are not able, we are even richer, so they will start supporting the industry to giving subsidies. Alright? Once they start giving subsidies, American goods cheap price also will go down. If this price, decreases artificial decrease, Chinese are losing, Americans are also losing. But here Uzbeks we are happy. because of that, retaliation with one another, their iPhones are now even cheaper price. Okay? So then if it happens, retaliation, then Mr. Donald Trump and Mr. Xi Jinping, they will come together, we made mistakes, or I'm sorry very much, please let's stop this problem. They remove the rules, and they will give the room. Okay? Good. And there is that learning curve, another strategy. Okay? Regarding the first one, it's clear. It's a subsidy just to get bigger market share. But regarding the learning curve, it's about tariffs. Again, as I already mentioned. Government imposes tariffs and quotas for temporarily, not permanently. Okay? Just give a chance for the infant industry to become more competitive. So therefore it's learning curve. For example, in the beginning, whatever production you are going to establish, there are going to be lots of defective goods, right? Because of lack of experience. But over the years, they will start reducing those problematic, defective goods, one. Another thing, if government protect their market share will increase domestically, right? And it will give them the opportunity to practice what? Domestic. They are able to produce more. So it will be more cost effective. Okay? So which means they will be able to produce more. So it is over there by extending, they will be spending the same time at the same time, but they will be able to reduce the cost of goods and service over the time because of the gain practice. Okay. So then, regarding another issue is with let's suppose that there is free trade. Okay. As we said, that David Ricardo and others, we said that all nations simultaneously, they gain, right? We are buying Russian goods because we are happy to consume it. And Russians are also very happy to buy our goods because they are also very happy. All right? Everyone. But sometimes, it causes problems for other parties, third parties, which we call as externalities. All right? For example, two trading partners, they will trade with one another. Okay? With one another. But there is third party. Let's say these two individuals are trading, okay? Trading. Let's say they are trading cigarettes. So American, British, British, I think. British tobacco, they are selling to Americans, okay? To Uzbeks, right? And we are buying it, let's say, for cheap price, and we are happy to buy it because we need it, right? But there are people like me who do not smoke. Okay? Both parties, smokers and those, the producers, they are very happy to trade. But people like me, I'm very unhappy because I'm suffering from that smoke. Okay? I'm losing, it's bad for my health. Do you understand? And sometimes it causes a positive externality too. Positive externality. For example, if one investor wants to invest in one region, he's going to open a company, right? And he hires people, right? He hires people, and now, as a result, income in that region will go up, okay? There are restaurant owners, let's say, around, who has nothing to do with that business. Because, there are more workers whose, incomes are getting up, they will be making more profit. They are third party, but still they are gaining. Do you understand? So, regarding positive externalities and negative externalities, please think about more examples. There are many, which I will add during the exercise, during the seminar. So, one of the main problems with externalities is what? Environmental issues. Okay? They are making billions of dollars, okay? But people who are living in that area, they all are affected. Okay? For example, during Soviet Union, we were, that irrigation system was very important. They were watering, producing more cotton. But our, people who are living in Karachi, Pakistan, yes, today they are paying the price. It's externality, okay? Because of that, shrinking water. All right? So, this is homework, okay? Disadvantages of international trade. It's very simple. I think this time we'll have a chance to read it. Okay. We will discuss it during the seminar. Okay. So these are the books that you may read. These pages. Okay. For this one. And we are done. Thank you very much.